Okay, so we're moving on with our worksheet now, and we're going to have a look down here at creating this example of a coloured sphere. So what I'm going to need for this is I'm going to need my two colour greens, my brown, and I'm going to use a yellow and a white as well. To be fair, I'm probably going to bring some black into this. So I've got my colour pencils ready. So I'm going to start off with the lightest colour first, which is generally yellow. I know I've got a white there as well, but I want to use that for more of a blending than creating colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, first of all, with my yellow. With it being the lightest colour, it means that any other colour that I use on top of it will show up. So I've got my light over here, so I'm leaving a lighter part over here at this side of the sphere. And I'm just kind of plot out where I'm going to leave it light and where it's going to be darker. So now that I know it's going to be dark down here, I can push a little bit harder. And start to spread it out and go lighter up over to this side over here. And once I've kind of got my tones in, where I've been shading across sort of diagonally like this, pushing harder and then lighter to make those tones, then we would always need to go over and curve our shading to make our sphere look 3D, because we all know that if we don't use curvy shading, it won't end up looking 3D, because we learned that when we looked at tone. Okay, so now that I've gone and plotted my tones out with the yellow, I'm going to start working with the green. So with the green down here, I'm going to start coming in at this darker side, and again, I'm not going to shave curly to start off with. I'm just going to start plotting out my different tones. So I'm going to go across in one direction, kind of diagonally like that to start off with. And then I'm going to keep on building up those tones in layers. So once I've got that, then I know I can really go in. And I can really start pushing with my pencil. Darkening it off down this side. Then pushing lighter over towards the lighter section over here. And then what I'm going to do to try and get that to start blending in, when I do my curvy shading, I'm again getting my pencil down low to the page, following the curve of the outside edge of the sphere, curving round, just to make sure we're making it look 3D. And I actually think with my curvy shading I can sort of make it darker still down here at the bottom, applying more pressure. And more layers with that green. So once I'm happy with that, and I think that's starting to look like a sphere now, I'm then going to darken it up again. So I'm going to go in with my darker green now. And again, starting down this section at the bottom, going in with my sort of diagonal shading first. And bringing it up, fading it out by pushing lighter towards that section. Before I start going in with my curvy shading to make it look more 3D. you can see me just working over in layers, building it up and up and up to make that sphere look a lot more 3D. And then once I'm happy with the tones, what I'm going to do, because we all know that when we're blending colour pencils, the best thing we can do is layer them up to get them to blend together. So once I've done that darker section, I'm actually going to bring my lighter green back, and I'm just going to colour over the top of that darker green section I've just done, pushing down really quite hard with my lighter green. And it just sort of starts to bring it all back together. And make it blend in. And again, going over in that curvy direction. To keep that sphere appearance. And then just at that point there, I'm going to do the same with my yellow. So I'm just going to blend back over the green I've already put in. Just to get it to blend, and you can sort of see the yellow picking up the greeny colour, blending it in together until we've got that white highlighted section there. And then with that white highlighted section, this is where I'd probably bring in my white colour pencil and just colour over it. And again, use some curvy shading. Just to make sure it's all blending together and it all starts to work. Okay, so that's probably good enough on its own, but I think what I'd like to do is show you about using brown. So when we use black to add dark tones, sometimes it can be a bit too overpowering. So if we start to use a brown instead of a black, or using a brown before the black, what it does is it sort of creates a darker tone without completely overpowering it. So you can see there on this example, you can see a lot of browny tones rather than black in that. So I'm doing exactly the same thing as I've done with the other colours, colouring across in a diagonal sort of manner, and then coming across with the curvy to blend out. And at this point, if you wanted to go back with any green colours and blend that back in, you know that'll help us do it. It'll help us make it look 3D. And then the last part that you're to add is the shadow underneath. So I'm going to start the shadow by working in with this darker green. So I'm going to push down underneath there, and then I'm going to come out lighter, because we all know shadows are darkest where they meet the object, and then they sort of fade away lighter. And I've started with dark green because shadows are always darker than the object. Okay, but then that looks like a completely different colour range to the rest of my green ball here. So I'm going back over with the lighter colour green, just to sort of bring those two colours in line with each other. And then underneath again, I can go in with my brown and make that come in and go out lighter. And if you really wanted to get some very, very darkness under there, you could also add in a little bit of black right at the very base, just to give it a little bit more of that hefty shadow appearance. Okay, but then once you've done that, that's our sphere complete.